So, we worked in software for a long time and worked in developing machine learning and AI for a while. And that was like behind the scenes, almost like in the Matrix where the numbers and letters are coming by. It was like that for a long time. But all of a sudden, when OpenAI came out with ChatGPT, it just made it so that someone could go up to a computer screen, enter a prompt and have an interaction and come up with something. One of the risks becomes, especially if it's exposed to the public, is people trying to jailbreak it and come up with like different questions to ask it that'll, hey, instead of answering my customer service question, why don't you give me the names and numbers of all your employees and social security numbers and stuff like that? It's just a new frontier of security and kind of how to deal with things right now. It's interesting, exciting, and maybe even a little bit scary. So if there's a part, like a lot of times when we work with companies and they're growing, it's like, well, we grew from X to 5 or 10X. And along the way, we start out with spreadsheets. And now we've got all these systems all over the place, and we're copying and pasting. And this part of the process, this black box, is a mess. I mean, this is like really high level AI, but like the idea of automating that through having like an AI scan it and put the stuff in, you just saved yourself a day of waiting and also accuracy and all this other stuff. My happy spot is I am at my core ridiculously lazy, and I love the idea. I love the idea of automating stuff. It is so fun. I hate the idea of people doing manual, slow, stupid things. That drives me crazy. If you're in a business situation and you're not taking advantage of optimization, then somebody else is. And so your thing that sells for $1 and costs you 80 cents to make, someone's going to figure out a way to make it for 50 cents and sell it for 70. And you will be out of business because you can't compete there. And our business, to be cliche, is like it's turned into a people business. It's about how do we find and keep and promote and care for the best possible people. You can learn how to be a great developer, top A+ level developer, and never go to school because it's all available to you online. So you see these CEOs or these sound bites that are like, oh yeah, we're going to replace all the developers with AI. And it might be true for like some really narrow cases, but I think it's like low single-digit percent, maybe under 1% right now. And for sure, what we do in our profession will be different in 5 years or 10 years. It's a dangerous world out there. And it's just like this cold war of information as we try to out-escalate each other. The quantum computing is like this sort of peripheral science happening right now that's starting to gain some traction. Once it comes online to some sort of nearly commercial or industrial level, it sort of renders all the current encryption useless. Like it would take, I can't remember what that is, but it's like thousands of years for current computers to crack that cipher. Whereas with quantum computing, it might be able to be done in a couple of milliseconds. For me, cryptocurrency is really just gambling. And that's okay. I'm not putting a judgment on it. But it's really just like, you and I think it'll go up, you and I think it'll go down. It's not tethered to anything other than kind of what we all think, but the administration announced doing a crypto fund. And that seems like a way to just like open the doors to like limitless criminal activity. So I don't know, it doesn't seem like a great idea. Between two equals, you're going to pick the guys down the street. You just are. They got this great idea to stop exhibiting at car shows and only exhibit at jet shows. Because at a jet show, a $300,000 car looks like an impulse buy.
And when it comes down to the security silo, which is what your audience is most here to listen about, the complexities of that really are so widespread. I've worked with some really high caliber safety and security firms throughout the course of my career. So I'm very well pleased to be connected with so many of you. Their staff is not equipped financially, emotionally with the web of connections that our clients are. They don't have the capacity to handle a security threat if it were to be turned in their direction. It is their home, but it is your place of business as a professional that's providing a service to these employers. And everything is on display when they open their doors to private security and private service professionals when they're opening that circle of trust, as you call it, to bring those people in. You have to delineate the lines of professionalism in a very close, personable working environment. So this is what I do in my consulting practice. I sit down with the owners. I say, tell me about your lifestyle. Tell me how you want to be served. What are the pain points? What are the challenges? Where do we need to hire internal staff? Where do we need to hire vendors? Security is a hybridized model of that is very different because for security to be successful, they have to know the details of what's going on personally, but they have to have an internal focus for the family, but also this external focus where they're understanding situationally awareness of what's going on in the world. It's almost like the news cycle and the 24-hour security cycle go hand in hand, right? The world is too rich in data that, Who's to say that they can't data mine your last name by driving down the street and looking up the address on your mansion? They figure out your last name. They compare it to the open table reservations for the steakhouse dinner you're going out tonight that you frequent. And all of a sudden we have a disaster waiting to happen. I'm going to cost you XYZ a year because I'm here to save your family's life. Before they realize that their wealth has caught up with their lifestyle, it's already a problem. They already have a security threat. I am a doctoral candidate in organizational leadership. I'm writing the first ever academic doctoral work in estate management in the history of academia. So I want you to think about two companies that we all know and love. I want you to think about Disney, and I want you to think about Chick-fil-A. Disney, instantly when you think about that Disney servicescape, you understand what I'm talking about. They invite you into their magical world. Every time you walk into a Chick-fil-A, what do they say? Thank you? Oh, my pleasure. Oh, it's not you're welcome. Chick-fil-A sends their kids through boot camp, and Disney has an onboarding. It's called Disney University, and they send them to 3 days of Disney boot camp, and they become Disney, Mickey Mouse-keteers, right?
They only have to get it right once. We have to get it right all the time. And that's the difficult thing. And it's not becoming complacent, making sure that you have those lines of communication. It goes back to that single thing of that they only have to get it right once. And fortunately with President Trump, they didn't get it right. We worked with Secret Service. I was the lead advance and liaison with service for the governor's detail on that particular event. You could definitely see during the Trump situation, they had limited resources available. And I know that from my understanding, and I could be wrong, but that the Secret Service did request additional support for those events that were outdoors, but they were denied by the current administration because he was not a seated president at that time. This is going to change open air venues moving forward for private entities and government entities as well. But there are different protocols and procedures that you can do during that particular event. And they may or may not, I would assume that they had drones in the air, but they weren't in a security capacity. And I think you're going to start seeing that come in much more. You're there to do a job and that job only. There's nothing personal about it because pretty much here in the Texas area, we respect people's rights. And that's when you're out doing advanced work and stuff like that, you talk to people about things. And if they're not going to give you a straight answer and they can't answer your question, that would lead a reasonable, prudent person to think, okay, is there some type of an ulterior motive here? I pray to God that it doesn't turn to violence, and it shouldn't. Because you know what? At the end of the day, even in a work environment, such as private protection, there's more than one way. I use the metaphor, there's more than one way to skin a cat. It's being able to use your mind and how to think ahead of it. And that's what a lot of personal protection is to be able to think 2, 3, 4 moves ahead and what you can do to prevent that event from even happening. But one of the things that I noticed that they failed to do was, what is your react plan? What are you going to do if things in our world that you say pop off? Who's going to go in? Who's going to be your snatch team? Who's going to set up the perimeter for that? Who's going to be looking outward at other threats? You can do everything you can at your house to make it safe. But if somebody wants to get in, they're going to get in. It's just how long and how much noise. So you got to create time and distance. In the law enforcement world, there's the OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, act, and they just kind of get in the observe and orient, and they get stuck there in a vicious cycle. Somebody came up, they looked like they were going to be a friendly, and as soon as they opened up their mouth, we knew that it was going in a different direction. We always have to afford people that opportunity, but that's where we're on point when they're in that close proximity and they're within that bubble that we say, that personal space. It turns out that he was the exact opposite, and all we had to do was take one step towards him, and he disengaged because he knew it was going to be an uphill battle. That's where you've got to draw the line, because you're there to save their life, regardless of what they want to do. So that way, in the event that we do have to do a hasty exit, we have unobstructed access. You're going to resort back to what you train, what you've run through, scenarios, and how you've gone. That will become second nature. And as you go through this, it just becomes second nature, and you actually don't realize what you're doing when you're doing it because it becomes repetition.
It's the third year that we've had it. It's a collaboration between SIA and ASIS. Security lead her. It's just a phenomenal event. It's grown every successive year. It sells out every year. And it's a phenomenal opportunity for women to come together within the industry and really dive into sort of that professional building. Why am I trying to fit into a mold that was not designed with me in mind? It's really important to not constantly be banging our head against the wall and going, I'm struggling, but there's a good chance what you're struggling with wasn't designed for the challenge you're facing. Here's how much more profitable a company is if they implement these programs. Here's how much they beat their competition, how much they save on employee turnover, on employee satisfaction, and really going through in a data-driven way. It seems like more often than not, the second I've got a problem and I pick up the phone or I'm talking to somebody and sharing that, I get oh my gosh, me too, I'm glad I'm not alone. The number of conversations I've had when I first entered the industry where I was dismissed or, you little blonde thing, how about we talk about setting up dinner plans as a date and I'm professionally dismissed versus now, is completely different. Those conversations don't happen the same way. There was a big leap forward, I think, as we sort of all emerged out of COVID. I think it sort of gave us all an opportunity to kind of be at home and pause and rethink and re-strategize. You wouldn't think something like being nice to other people and showing kindness would experience such a pushback, but it did. And it's not, sitting around a drum circle saying kumbaya and we all love each other and, you feel the love tonight. But here's the data behind why being nice to other people and showing support and, building those mentor-mentee relationships and bringing positivity to the workforce, recognizing contributions of others and passing it forward. I look at the old guard and it's, I'm doing business with so-and-so because I've worked with him for 20 years. We go golfing every year and that's my guy. I'm not deviating for products or companies or deals or anything like that's my guy. I joke that I sort of did everything wrong when I went to law school. I made all the wrong choices and somehow they worked out. And I did wine tasting. I worked as a wine taster for a big wine distributor before my first year of law school. Had an absolute blast, made great friendships. I was in sports and entertainment. Nobody would look at me and be like, that's who we should recruit for security. And yet here I am and I'm loving it. It is fun, although it's not for the faint of heart. There's definitely days, and I know you get it. I know you get it more than anybody. You wake up and go, what am I thinking? Why didn't I do that? Why did I choose this straight uphill, challenging path? But then there's days where, and more often than not, I go, I wouldn't have it any other way. Extend the same courtesy and the same support that, probably got you to where you are today. Don't forget to reach out behind you or to next to you.
I always look at security as it's depending on what the business is, to me, security will always be a cost center. And so I've worked in the biotech and the pharmaceutical world where the job is to find, make, sell drugs. There is a corporate pile of money. And depending on where the company is in its life cycle, it may be in, we got to spend money to make money, or it may be in we are going to spend significantly less and squeeze as much value out of whatever we have already as we can. So again, my view on security is it tends to be the cost center. And when companies, as we're seeing right now anyway, a lot of companies are downsizing, it is relationship based. You can't sell to a CEO or a CFO or general counsel unless you've got a solid relationship with those individuals. for the kind of program that I wanted to build. Your job really is to advocate for how do you protect people, facilities, operations as much as possible, given what the political climate is in your company. If you just want to be a practitioner and be really, really good at it, then maybe steer the pack a little bit away from the chief role, because I found that over the last couple of years, especially at the tail end of my career at my last company. I didn't roll up my sleeves and do a lot of work, and I missed it. Like, what is it that you want to be when you grow up? And as you get a little bit closer to the top, do you want to be the political sales rainmaker, and whether that's internal or external, or do you want to be the practitioner? The need to be able to code is sort of going away. Need to be able to leverage AI to do the coding hasn't and won't go away. But there's a perception that all CEOs and all C-suite are under significant risk, and the EP world is where people should be shifting. So how you build a program that meets the absolute corporate need, and if you are in the right chair and you are executing on an actual corporate need, your job isn't going away. The political volume in the US and internationally as well has gotten so loud that if you end up on the wrong side, you have raised the likelihood on the executive protection bubble goes outside the C-suite sometimes. So now it's just personnel security, but we're still protecting the corporate brand in Mexico City, in Sao Paulo, in Bogota, wherever it happens to be. I tell you what, we can save 10% by getting rid of the C-suite drivers. They can now drive themselves to the office because we're on the East Coast, low security risk. When you want to leave, you want to leave. And the value of having the security function there is to allow you to continue to live your life, to work your life the way that you want to, and we protect you while you're doing it. Because I was there as Ben Whitfield in December of 2004, the American consulate in Jeddah was attacked by terrorists. And so, I was in the building, right? It still feels very much like yesterday, but in the building and heard the gunfire as terrorists came in and had breached the gate. Those are bonus years for me, because I maybe should have died that day if it had been 30 minutes later. And for just that moment, I'm like, man, I could teach Osama bin Laden's niece and nephew how to ski. I was trying every angle I could find to get into that and say, hey, I would like to be responsible for being the one who found him. Each shipment is somewhere between 0.6 and 0.7% more expensive now. Either because of the security that you need to, or because now we have to spend $1 million extra in fuel to go around Cape Horn. Why would I not share and so help people out? And so that's just something I've been happy to do. I think it helps make this massive industry into a much smaller, just because then they'll start to spider it out and be like, that's 6 degrees of separation. How do I know that person? Probably only 2.